Welcome back, everybody. I'm GTF, and this is Rockman World 5. When we last left off, our only remaining space ruler available is Venus. Notice the design looks very similar to Toadman. I mean, Mars already looked a lot like Napalm Man, so why not go with Toadman? Okay, fine. The designers could have picked a better guy to rip off, but Venus really is actually a little less of a chump than Toadman is, so at least we'll have something a little more interesting. He's not that much better than Toadman, but at least Venus can actually shoot at you. This stage probably has one of the best music tracks in the game, in my opinion. I like it. It's kind of funky. Crabs are not really that threatening. They don't hurt you directly. As you can see, the bubbles just will try to catch you and pull you down into a pit. Waterfalls don't do any damage, but they will throw you through the floor. Normally, as you can see, they're generally over pits, but there are some areas where they are actually just over solid ground, and they will literally push you through the floor to your death. The goo blob thingies, I don't know a name for them, I'm just going to call them the blob guys. Shut up. They're somewhat tricky because with the Game Boy graphics, it's kind of hard to tell which ones are going to fall on you and which ones are just part of the scenery. You can sort of tell because the actual enemies are a little bit lighter. I mean, at first glance, you might not notice because, well, you know, it's Game Boy graphics here. They're not really that detailed and fancy in the color displays, but you can still notice the differences slightly. The owls, the ones I just killed, don't see them too often, but they are a pain in the ass when you do find them. They basically act like the enemies from Airman stage. They'll suck and blow you, and they're always around spikes. What I just picked up, thanks to my shiny new magnet hand, are basically miniature E-cans. You can't use them individually, but once you collect 4 of them, they turn into a full-size E-can. There's a lot of them scattered throughout the game, so it pretty much can save you on store costs from buying E-cans if you just pick up the mini ones. And having the magnet hand makes collecting them a lot easier. And I'm struggling to kill that little guy because I suddenly lost my ability to aim. And yeah, I'm basically breezing through this primarily because I remember where everything is, so... Oh, look at this. Eddie! Fuck you, Eddie! God, I hate him. Never gives you anything you actually need when you need it. And every good Mega Man game has some sort of weird bouncy physics, and Venus' stage covers that. It looks a little strange, but it's very simple, actually. You get a high jump if you jump when you're on one of those large bubbles. That's pretty much it. You bounce for a small height afterwards upon landing, and you can't really jump again until you stop bouncing. There you go. That's it. It just gets a little tricky later in the stage where they expect you to try to slide and bounce over spikes. But otherwise, it's not really that threatening, and that gimmick isn't going to show up later in the game anyway. To the best of my knowledge offhand. Slide over these pits, and you won't have to worry about trying to fall in. So, not falling in, I should say. See, here's the trick. Again, only on the large bubbles do you get the high bounce. And this is actually a very difficult thing to slide through right there, but it's just barely short enough for you to slide under. If you are a couple pixels too far, you will come out of your slide right under the spikes and die. It's sort of a dick move. The game has a lot of little jumps and slides like that. You can get through most of those waterfalls if you just run straight through them. Changing subject. We're almost at the end of the stage anyway, so this is pretty much like there's only like a little more opposition here. That was the last crab of the level. And coming up is the last owl. This is actually, to me, this is somewhat of a dick jump. It is just barely low enough for you to make normally, and since it would be impossible to make otherwise, because Rush Coil is one of our prizes for killing Venus. Oh, 1-up. And we're back at par now. It's not going to be like that long run, I can assure you. 1-ups are pretty generous in this game. And here's Venus. Yeah, he's pretty much a Toadman knockoff, except he doesn't do a belly dance and try to rain on you. This is all he does, really. He waddles around a little bit, fires a bubble, it homes in on you, you can shoot down the bubbles, and that's it. He's weak to the photon missiles, and as you can see, he doesn't do a lot of damage. You really have to suck really badly to get killed by Venus. He's not hard at all, even without the photon missiles. And we're gonna pick up his weapon. It's pretty lame, but it's fairly useful. There's a lot of it targets above you, and it's got a really lame name, as we're about to find out. I hate even saying it. It's just so stupid sounding to me. The Bubble Bomb. Yeah, I'm not making that up. Whoever was writing this stuff for this game kind of got lazy, I think. It's pretty nifty, though. As you can see, it climbs along the ceiling, and it'll go up walls, too. However, you gotta be careful, because that large wavy arc, if you use it too close to a wall, it's gonna end up sticking to the wall instead of going up like you might have wanted it to. And now that all of our the first wave of Space Rulers are dead, we can now go kick Earth's ass and get some payback for that little bitch slapping he gave us in the intro cutscene. This is entirely a cutscene. I'm not dancing around like this for no reason. This is completely out of my control. This happens to be my absolute favorite stage music in the game. We'll be hearing this later. Just enjoy it for now. You gotta admit, for a little 8-bit sprite that has no form of facial expression, I think this cutscene's actually doing a fairly decent job of being a little jumpy and nervous looking, in my opinion, with it constantly turning around, looking around. Yeah, I give them credit for that. And here we go. Earth is going to mock us for a little while, brag about how he's going to kill me, and not actually do anything himself, as per the course of usual big bad villains. They usually leave their minions to it, and unfortunately this means another boss fight, and you've heard how terrible this music is, so enjoy this. I'm gonna give it something a little more pleasant. Dark Moon, that's a nice sounding name, right? Sounds intimidating? No! It's just another fucking yellow devil. Because we haven't fought enough of them so far, right? Yeah, it's just a fancier looking yellow devil. Even easier than any other, actually, because as you notice, it's forming off-screen. Like, the only reason I got hit here a couple times is because I forgot it has an alternate transfer method. And that's it. It's weak to... and also I get a little sloppy. That's the only difference between that and any other yellow devil, is that it bounces the higher pieces on the ground, but as you see, they don't hit the back of the screen, ever. Just stay right where I am there, and you're safe for pretty much the whole thing. And just lather, rinse, repeat, and again, as you've heard how terrible the boss music is in this game, I've replaced it with with an appropriate 8-bit version of the Megaman boss music. Enjoy. And this is pretty much the thing. Dark Moon is weak to photon missiles, but it's, all honesty, faster to just smack it with the Mega Arm. I think you can actually hit it a little quicker, in my opinion, anyway. And my button's stuck there. I would have jumped over that. I'm not trying to blame my screw-ups on anything, but that was the fact. It was a sticky button. I need to dismantle my controller and clean it. And one more shot, and this guy is dead. There we go. Oh wait, wrong game. Yeah, very impressive death sequence there. Well, that's actually pretty standard for most of the devil monsters these days, as they just melt. No weapon or freebie there. And Elmer Fudd, Dr. Light, has just discovered something shocking, apparently. Resources from Earth to create even more powerful generation of robots. Yeah, except there's really nothing new, there's really nothing impressive or new about these things. Don't let that fool you. And so now we get to go into space. Yes, space. Not the first time this has been done. In fact, we've done this like 2 or 3 times now over the Game Boy games. I think like the final levels are always like space stations in the Game Boy games for some strange reason, with the exception of the third of Rock'n'Roll World 3, which took place on like a giant oil derrick. Because that was like Dr. Wily's scheme in Rock'n'Roll World 3. Anyway, moving on. I really don't have anything to buy because I can't afford anything, so we're just heading straight out into space, another cutscene. And then we'll be getting the remaining 4 space rulers to kill, and I think you can all guess their names. They're the remaining planets and Pluto, because Pluto's not a planet anymore. Take that, Pluto. Again, none of them are very impressive, and we now actually have weapons they are weak to, unlike half of the first 4 we fought. We actually have weapons now. So we'll do that next time. I'm GTF. Thanks for watching.